few years ago we had a hare in the place, and we had a long time before we managed to get him out. But he took a liking to all these, and he cut them to the ground, and they came up again, and he cut them to the ground, and they came up again. And eventually when the hare was gone, they came up as if nothing ever happened to them. So if you have them and they get a lot of brown material in them because they're evergreen, you can be as rough as you want. You can cut them right to the ground, any of that Carex right to the ground, and 2 or 3 weeks later, back lovely and fresh. Hello, this is John Lord here, and I just did a job yesterday. We had this edging was here, went like that around here, and what was happening, finished off here like this. The edging was like, and what people were doing is they were walking, looking at the plants, and then they were walking out here and they were tripping over that. So for health and safety reasons, we had to make it wider, and then we picked it. There's a little problem here. You can see it's very wet. Sometimes a little bit of an overflow from the gutter. So I was going to plant another one of these here, these geraniums. I think it's sweet Heidy, but we won't. See, it's wet, very wet. So we'll plant this up. Put a bit of, it's just compost of some sort. I don't know what it is, just sort of organic-y compost. This was not too much. It was on top of the pots. It was too much of it on top of the pots. Some type of mulch. That's enough. So you can see the fall is that way. So if it's ever going to be, and we can expect that every now and again the gut is going to block, so and the excess water will come out there. So we're going to put something that will tolerate it. So we're going to plant a Persicaria. Now it's a bit higher, but that will tolerate the wet. We don't have to worry. It's texturally different than the other ones. It's a variety called Usan. So it's not one of the really large leaf ones, it's the medium leaf one. Put that there and that there, and we'll stick one in. And look, this Sanguisorba is doing just about the flower. I didn't realise it was going to be that tall, but look at this one out here. One of the hangy down ones. I think I mentioned it the last time, but it's just amazing. And I think that one there is going to be more akin to this one. You see it with a little small red flower, like little points of red. And the reason I planted that, I had it over there and it didn't fall down. It was very, very rigid, really, really good. So I think that's going to be, in about 2 weeks' time, that's going to be really good there. And this bed has turned out very well. We need maybe have a little go at some of the lupins again, go through them, remove them, and we might get a second flush later on. We might. Now, as I'm here, Shasta Daisy, normally white. That's a golden one, and I think that's just a little bit different. Always, if you can go for the yellow one, because the white one is everywhere. The white one's beautiful, but it's everywhere. So go for the yellow. Now we go planting. And the body of the geranium's about here. So I think, it's very wet. There's one here, and maybe one about here. And here we have the underlying farm soil. Probably been farmed for the last, what, 2,000 years? Or more, 3,000 years. Our last video was done exactly a week ago. That's it. Leave a gap. Leave a lip here. See, what I had to do was bring that pipe up. It was against that, and it was against the grill, and it wasn't allowing all the debris was building up, and it was flooding. But I think maybe this will stop all that. Now we're heading for the drier ground. You won't plant anything here. Maybe the geranium could be shifted a bit further forward, but that will, over time, will fill the gap. And then for here, I think there's a bit too much soil. Let's get rid of some of the rough soil. Now, we're still too high. We're going to plant some Crocosmias. Here they are. Very handy having a garden centre beside your garden. They were actually, this bed used to come way out, so they were lifted about 4 months ago, lifted and stuck out the back and forgotten about. A nice yellowy one, Columbus. And all the other ones, the marker faded in the sun, so we just have these blank markers. You go the whole way, I think. See, what's happened is the hydrangea is coming. We had lovely Silene, Rollies' favourite. You see what this bully of a hydrangea has done? It's come and blocked it out.
We're having a look at
we can't.
the expert and seeing what we could do.
Yeah, I'll make it up as I go along. So there's...
You want to do that? I thought it was a plan, didn't
I never have a plan.
Oh no.
I have 2 plans for every job, plan A and plan B. That's my plans, plan A and plan B. Very wet. Yikes. Very wet. No. No. And I love planting out plants from the garden centre that aren't selling. This is not selling. But it's extremely wet. So we put this in here instead. Won't have to worry. It's like muck. If you put pressure on that, look what you get. So you can plant in heavy wet ground. It's doable once you're careful. Don't walk on it whatsoever. And believe it or not, they're on really wet ground. You water them in. You still water them in. Because the water going down sticks everything to the roots. Okay, I won't bother with this. We know. So that's job number one. Tidy up. And what I do is I get one of these. I have a box around the side. I get one of these. Take it off. I put a note when it was done. I put it in the box. And about 2 years ago, somebody was doing tidy up, threw out every single label for about the last 5 years. Hold up, Tony. You can't give out to member staff for tidying up. That's that. Now, next job. Oh, look. That lovely Potentilla. Look how scarlet that is. Mr. Gibson. That's Gibson Scarlet. Isn't that really, that as red as you can get. And green contains blue and yellow. And then if you put red, you've got the 3 primary colours. And that's why red stands out so well against green. For humans, it doesn't seem to have the same effect on bees. They have a different way of doing it. So we're on here. Second job is here. We've Astrantias here. And you see they are totally overwhelmed by the dryness, by the hedge and the tree sucking out. So sucking out the moisture, so they all have to come up. But I'm not going to do it. We can do that later on because that's going to take us a half an hour. Interestingly, when you're using the pickaxe, it's very heavy the ground. You use the pointy bit is the easiest. And then when it gets lighter, you use that part. But that's the part you use. Now, so they have to come up. And we have to decide what's going to go in, so we'll get at a few plants. Yeah, we're going to look at plants for dry shade, which is always difficult. There's certain plants that are designed for it. In fact, there's certain plants that if you put them in wet, open conditions, they will hate it. But before, that's a new Sanguisorba we planted. And I planted it next to Kirengeshoma for a textural difference. And it's smallish one, it'll be perfect there. We've been watering it. But it's not as dry here as it is over there. And that lovely little Aruncus. Here, a few options. We're going to put in some ferns, and this is one I've never used before. Dryopteris lepidopoda. Never even heard of it, but it's an evergreen, and it will definitely do. So we could put some of them there. This plant I've never had before, a Polystichum neolobatum. It's supposed to be very good. Just came up on a list and I got some to sell, but primarily I got 10 of them and 2 for me and 8 to sell. So that one is definitely going to go somewhere. Definitely. And look here, this is a plant that likes the dry shade. That's the Chilean flame creeper. It's the most amazing strong red flowers. And people have great trouble trying to get that established. But once you get it established, it won't go away. what it likes is lots of organic matter at the top of the soil, and then it sort of, its roots go between the soil and the organic matter. Is it in flower yet? Let's have a look. Get a look. There we are, look. It's destroying the lovely Astilbe. It's a bit of a brat. It's particularly good if you have a yew hedge growing through a yew hedge. The flat green of the yew and the strong red of that. It's kind of like bindweed, but it's very neat when it disappears in the winter, or when it loses. Yeah, when it does, it's basically herbaceous. It disappears because the leaves are so small. It kind of just there's not that untidiness after it. It's always looks tidy. I planted it to go up the hedge, and it's going everywhere except the hedge. It's going all over the place. But look, it's going through the fern even. See it? Just not quite out yet, but it is. Oh, there it is out. So you can either grow it and not get rid of it, or you can't grow it. There's no in between. So we can plant a few ferns. And this is one of the sedges, Carex oshimensis, one of the Japanese sedges. It's a variety called Everillo, and some of them can look a bit artificial, the variegated ones. One of them looks like the spider plant, but this one just works in a natural setting. It just looks okay, Everillo. So that will definitely grow here as well. But we have a grassy thing here, so we won't bother with that. But just to show, I need a Carex Everillo oshimensis will work. Now, I found out as well, a few years ago we had a hare in the place. We had a long time before we managed to get him out. But he took a liking to all these, and he cut them to the ground, and they came up again, and he cut them to the ground, and they came up again. And eventually when the hair was gone, they came up as if nothing ever happened to them. So if you have them and they get a lot of brown material in them, because they're evergreen, you can be as rough as you want. You can cut them right to the ground, any of that Carex, right to the ground, and 2 or 3 weeks later, back lovely and fresh. Don't be afraid if you get on a hand. Don't leave them and let them go. That's what happens. People leave them, they go very dowdy looking, and then they lose heart and they just get rid of them. No, cut them hard back, as I say, even in the summer. The hair did it, and it worked. And the other plants that do well in dry shade are the euphorbias. That does really well in dry shade. Now that's Wolfenii type. That could go there and fill that gap. The ferns behind. We have one very rich red one called Miner's Merlot. That would work. Let's have a look. Oh yes. First issue is purple loosestripe. Absolutely beautiful. Looks really, really good. All volunteers. And the secret with it is be rootless. If it's in the wrong place, it's too much, or just be rootless. Take it out. Don't let it take over, but just let it where you want it, where it goes where you want it. Let it, and it's just fantastic. In the native plant, oh yeah, we dug these up, and we weren't sure. The label, we lost the label, or the label washed off. I think it's one called Geranium called Dilys. We didn't know what it was going to be, but we're really happy. Now, Persicaria Lisan album. Soon as it, don't let it run to seed. As soon as it's finished, out. We have a lovely big clump of it in there, but you have to be rootless, or come up. We weren't rootless. We were not rootless. It was coming up there, there. It's coming up everywhere. What's that coming up? You have to be rootless with everything. What's that? Very nice. Brown fennel. But you have to be rootless. It's in the wrong place. Look at, there's the verbascum. And it's about the best of the verbascums. Jaxii, but you have to get the root. There it is. No, that's just ordinary decent broccoli. Over here. Yeah, Acanthus spinosus. See it there? Beautiful, beautiful plant, but impossible to get rid of. I've been fighting a battle with that for the last 5 years to get rid of it. You have to put the Acanthus spinosus and the Acanthus mollis. They're beautiful. Great, they're great in Western culture. The Acanthus leaf is used in the motifs, in the pillars for the temples and the motifs, decorative motifs. So it's important in their culture, but be careful where you put it. It would make, particularly Acanthus mollis, would make a beautiful large bed of it in the middle of a lawn where the lawnmower puts manners on it. But you have to be very careful amongst other herbaceous because it's very hard to control. Now the Galegia that I showed last week, how well it's coming. One is white and two are purple. How well, really well doing. That was Chelsea chopped. So we've learned. Here's some, that's Cantabrigensis, Geranium Cantabrigensis, and that would also grow in the dry shade. We might put a bit of that in, we don't know, but we have a lot of options. I was getting a bit worried about this not performing, but falling over Wild Eve. But next year it will be tighter, and I don't think it will happen. And look at that. I mentioned it last week as well, but it just shines out. The Hazel's fishing rod kind of collapsed. Now, I kind of think that's human induced. I just have a feeling people are trying to pull bits out. I think that's something not right. Because it doesn't happen every year. It's the first year that's happened. So I have a feeling humans were involved. Now look at that. That's Lemon Queen. If you want to fill her in herbaceous perennial that will come up anywhere, doesn't need to be staked, never gives a bit of trouble, you can't beat that. Lemon Queen. And here's another one. We go in here, you can't beat. This goes a bit mad. That's Lysomacia punctata. It goes a bit mad. You need a space for it, but it is controllable. It's very good. It's very good. It will grow anywhere. If you want something that will grow anywhere. Now, I've forgotten the name of these, but we're not going to persevere with them because they're absolutely hockey with slugs, and it's just not happy. So they're going to go. We're fighting a long-term battle with the Japanese anemone. We just keep digging it up. It is very, very careful with Japanese anemone. It's worse than the Acanthus. Now, a few other plants to look at again. I mentioned that last week. The companion lactiflora, because of the competition from the pine trees, it's tighter. Really, really good. This is all new here. This was planted last week. Just dug up and stuck in there. Persicaria, fill that gap. And gets a lot of overflow from the pipe. That was put in 2 years ago before we extended. And that's Ballawley hybrid. That's one of the best, about the biggest leaf ones you can get. didn't flower last year because it got hammered by the late frost. That's Majda. And slightly dark red, but slightly acidic here. And you see the change in colour. It's heading towards purple. And here's a full size one. Look how big the flower is. That's, my head is for comparison. So obviously it's a small flower. We have the Welsh poppy, which is beautiful and full of poppy seed heads. If that was cut back like this, grab it all like that, do that. So again, grab it all like that. That will reflower. I'll just do the last one, and then we'll mention two very good plants. Gather the whole lot up. It doesn't matter if you go into the leaves. That's it. Now, that's a Tiarella. I think it's Solar Eclipse. That was super. Kind of a bit lost. Really good. And Hydrangea Bluebird. It's Serrata Bluebird. It is one very old hydrangea. It's been on the go a long time, but it's just as good as the modern, lots of the modern improved varieties. It flowers on, not just flowers obviously in old wood like normal hydrangeas, but it also flowers a bit on new wood. You can see flowers, new flowers coming. I'm not sure, well, that will, it's getting too late, but there's got lots more flowers on it, and you can see that's late spring cold damage. You can see blue, fully blue there, and pink there. Blue is nicer, I think. We put more bark in, and it will acidify over time. What we're going to do in the winter with this, we'll wait till all the leaves fall off the laburnum, and then we'll thin it out a bit. It's going to be a multi-stem tree. It's going to be really good, really tall. It loves the dry conditions imposed on it by the Scots pine. Now you can see there, Astrantia are doing much better here because it's wetter and they're not blocking at all. So every plant for its place. And I think that's I don't think that's Roseanne. I think that's Bloom Me Away. It's bigger, slightly bigger than Roseanne. Geranium Roseanne, really good. And coming out nicely. It's lovely. That's really big hydrangea aspera. And it's first year without being bullied by there's a very large bamboo in here. And there's bits of it still trying to make its way out. So we'll sort that out. We'll wait in the winter time. We'll take it. This thing has gone mad. We have to do something with it. Look here. What's that? Where did that come from? That's the sucker from foxglove tree. It has never flowered, so it didn't produce seeds, so it has to be a sucker. So it's ran its root all the way from there, all the way here, on the sucker. And there's another plant that does that as we're here. Eliagnus Quicksilver. We can get in here. Now we need to do a bit of, we're going to bark this willow herb again. And see this? This is euphorbia. I showed you euphorbia earlier on. Euphorbia wolfenii. This is a native Euphorbia heliotropa. And I was years ago, I was working in a convent garden, and there's this lovely old nun, and she comes out, and they're all getting old, and the nuns, they're really nice. And she had this, picked it up, and she had a wart. She put the white sap on the wart, and she said that's how we always did it in the country growing up, kill the warts. Now, I'm not saying it does. You won't get in your eyes, but that's what she used to kill warts. Now, the reason I came here, different reason entirely, was the Eleagnus quicksilver. See, it's suckers. And there's the mother plant way over there. And there it is again, suckering. Now what we will do is we dig up bits for people who want it. We don't, it's often not in the trade, but we see that, we dig that up there. Put the root, you see the root? It's more like a stem. We cut that there and put that there. It's very good, but if you're gardening by the seaside, really, really good. And here we have. Oh, here's the Eleagnus right over here. See how much it's suckering. That's why weed control is a very skilled job. Believe it or not, it's a really skilled job because you have to know your weeds. And sometimes I remember letting a young lad out the weed beside the shop, and we had a line of Campanula muralis, and just about to flower, and he was happy as Larry, had a whole lot of them taken out. So, that's the Eleagnus again here, and there it is again. So we know it's here, but I wanted to show this here, Geranium sylvaticum, and that's native to Sweden, places like that, so it'll definitely do in Ireland. But what was shown is the two different types. That they're all seedlings, none of those are planted, so we can dig that up. And the thing about Geranium sylvaticum, after it flowers in about April. After it flowers, cut a hard back, and it will reflower always, leaves and all. We planted that about 2 months ago when there was nothing here. I know it looks sort of the small, it looks really small, but that stood out because this was all below the ground. Now the problem with that is it needs water. That just needs to be watered. Now what will happen if you don't water it? It will sulk its way through the year and then get well watered in the winter, and it will grow a bit more, and its roots will go out a bit further, and it will kind of sulk itself the following year through the season, and eventually its roots will get in far enough and off it'll go. But you can help it out, because if we were to, that would want to be watered about nearly once a week. But we just don't get time, or it's kind of forgotten about. It's like this plant here I have over here. This hydrangea here, I got that in as Hydrangea serrata, Coriana or something it was called, and it's meant to be white flowered. It had the label and all. I have the label as white flowers, and it came out like that, so I don't know what to do with it. But it's here, so it's going to stay there. And that fern, I was out fishing about 10 years ago, and in a wild area, and I took a little snip off a fern, and that's, I don't go fishing anymore, but that's a reminder. It's just a male fern. I don't approve of people taking stuff in the wild, but it was once off. Misjudgment. But there was millions of them. Oh, I see Kyle has been barking. This fence was only put in a week ago. That fence here, we haven't put it off yet. We moved everything out. The fence was here for some reason. I don't know. The fence was here, which was stupid, and then we put it here where it should have been. I don't know why I did that. So when you go out, you get this lovely effect. And then we did a bit of planting. phlox. We moved that. Libertia, Nactia. That's the macrophylla. That's the large-leafed hydrangea. I'm mad about them. I put them everywhere. The hosta was there. Forgot the name of it. And the fuchsia was there. But those two geraniums weren't. And that's supposed to be, I don't know the name, but it was sold to me as being better than Rosanne. It's early days. Now that's nearly finished. Really finished. One more thing. Sunny spot, and you want a tight shrub. You cannot beat the Potentillas, the shrubby Potentillas. They flower in the new wood, so if you get untidy, you can go hard back in the spring, you won't lose the season. They will still flower that year. Now, rabbit's gone, and oh look, that's Gibson Scarlet again. Rabbit is gone, and I had put this down to the ground, this geranium, and look, July in full flower again. So I know about this geranium. After the flowers in the spring, cut it hard back and you get a reflowering. Well, I think, let me see. Well, that's it. That's enough done. Oh yeah, no, one more thing. It's funny, you look out. Look at that Aconitum vulparia, wolfbane. Isn't that just the business? And I've changed my mind about this Centuria. It's called silver something or other. I like it. It's staying. It's gonna be here, or it's not gonna go. If we have to do anything, we move that erodium. But I just like, it's lovely clean silver. Okay, that's it. Oh look at it. Paul's best yellow, the first of the year. Well, that's a good note to go out on. I don't know who you are, Paul, but it is your best yellow.